All right, so I thought what we would do together is maybe do a little piece on Chanukah, and again, I'm not gonna lecture, so it's interactive. So let's we're not gonna get through all of this, but at least to make a little dent. And anyone start learning Inyan Chanukah yet? I will hold you by that. Tiny bit. All right, so now it's like this is like the Shloshim Yom Kodem Achag. So this is a nice opportunity to get a little bit to me. I mean, a lot of you guys are showing it better already, but to me, one of the most incredible things about Eretz Yisroel was, to me, if you just push down that. Good, thank you, guys, thank you. So one of the most incredible things about Eretz Yisroel, Chanukah, is for those of you who are here already, Chanukah, in America, Chanukah is beautiful, but like pretty much it's just a regular day, and you light the menorah. Right here, it's like mamish like Yantiv. So I'm not going to be here for Chanukah, unfortunately, but Baruch Hashem, at least to be a little bit in Kislev. So let's take a look. Rambam in number 1. Mitzvah Ner Chanukah, mitzvah chaviva hiyad ma'od. Okay, so mitzvah Ner Chanukah is very important. V'tzarech ha'adam lizoher ba kidei lahodia hanes v'hosif b'sheva hakel v'hodaya al hanesim sha'asalan. Fine. So I want to skip to the underlying line. Afilu ein ma lo yochal ela minat tzedakah. So what does that mean? Afilu ein ma yochal ela minat tzedakah. What does that mean? Good, even if you have nothing to eat and you're supported from tzedakah, excellent. Shoel o mocher ksuso. Good. V'lokeach shemen v'neros u'madlik. Good. What is Rambam saying? What is Rambam saying? Even if you're poor. But not just even if you're poor. What do you have to do in order to light Ner Chanukah? Either tzedakah, go into debt, sell your stuff. Now, I have to ask you, what's strange about this? Just off the bat, what's strange about this?
Usually, it's not. You don't have to do it for a mitzvah.
Correct. So we have a concept, and in fact, if you take a look, at number 2, the Shulchan Aruch writes, this actually appears in Hilchos Lulav. So the Ramah writes, Hago, Umisha ein lo esrog oshar mitzvah overes. You don't have an esrog, or for that matter, again, any mitzvah that's really like, overes just means, like it's time-bound. So what's the halacha? Ein tzarech levazvez aleh hon rav. Anyone know how to translate that? Ein tzarech levazvez aleh hon rav. Good. You don't have to good. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Levazvez literally means to waste. Here it doesn't really mean waste. Here it really means like to expend. You don't have to expend a lot of money on it. Kimosha amru hamevazvez al yivazvez yoser mechomesh. The halacha is you're never supposed to spend more than 1/5 of your wealth on the performance of a mitzvah. Chazal capped it. As important as mitzvahs are, a person is not obligated to go ahead and impoverish himself to perform a mitzvah. So again, simple idea. Now, it's interesting, by the way, why does the Shulchan Aruch say mitzvah overes as opposed to what? What's the example of mitzvah? I'm sorry? Avera, good. What else?
Something not time.
Like? Tzitzis. Now, here's what's interesting. Even though, let's say tzitzis or tefillin, are they mitzvahs? Are they time-bound? So, technically they are, right? Because remember, you don't wear tefillin at night, and technically you're not obligated in tzitzis at night. But what the Rambam means in this context over here is when he calls overes, what he means is something that only applies for a short amount of time, like lulav and esrog, sukkah, Megillah. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins that halacha l'maaseh, if you have an obligation to perform a mitzvah, you never have to spend more than 1/5 of your wealth on the performance of this mitzvah. So now if I have to ask you, what's the kasha? So what's the kasha? The Rambam. What did the Rambam just say? What do you have to do in order to light Ner? Bless you. What do you have to do in order to light Ner Chanukah? What? Sell it. In other words, you have to sell the shirt off your back. So what's the pshat? How do you reconcile it? The Shulchan Aruch paskins, and again, we will say this is a halachic principle of hamevazvez al yevazvez yoser mechomesh. You want to spend a lot of money on a mitzvah? That's fine. You are not allowed to spend more than 1/5 of your wealth. And yet here, by Ner Chanukah, the Rambam paskins that halacha l'maisa, you have to go ahead and even you have to spend all of your money. So how do you reconcile it? Any suggestions? Why would you be obligated? By the way, where else do you see a concept like this, that you have to go ahead and do whatever you need to do to perform the mitzvah?
Freeing captives?
I'm sorry. Oh, excellent. Pidyon shvuyim. Although that makes a lot of sense. Why does it make sense?
They could die.
Right? Because they could die, right? So there's an element of sakanas nefashos. But good. Yes, pidyon shvuyim. Right? Shalom aleichem, gentlemen. Welcome. Come. Bring it. Just if you want to wash this pizza. Mekuzos, whatever you'd like. Shloy, there are chairs right outside of the door. Just bring them in here. We'll of course, we'll come. Chavra, we can move. We can move the table. Yeah.
That might not move.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, it's moving.
It's a thing there. Is it right?
Yeah, there's the door. Don't want to break the utility.
All right, shalom aleichem, gentlemen. Good to see you guys. Welcome. Right, so good. So where else? We just mamish this down. So where else do we see? Oh, arbakosos. Excellent. Good. Arbakosos. Right, that's all right. It's not cheating. It's here on the sheet. Right. What's the halacha about arbakosos? It's a Mishnah Arvei Psachim. Right. What does Mishnah Arvei Psachim say? That afilu ani min hatamchui. Right. Everyone has to have arbakosos, even what? Even from tzedakah. What's the Well, let's take a look. Take a look at the Maggid Mishnah. So the Maggid Mishnah writes over here, number 3. The Maggid Mishnah is a commentary on the Rambam. So the Maggid Mishnah writes, Mashkasa Rabbeinu, afilo in malo yochal, Mira shalom du mimashin izbar perik zayin behilchos chametz umatzah shafilu ani shebi Yisrael lo yifchos midalad kosos. So the Maggid Mishnah, interestingly enough, says like this: the only other time that we find an example of this, of halacha l'maisa, the need to go. Chaver, really, there's plenty of pizza over here. I'm telling you, I think these are two whole ones over here still. So right, and these are tiny pieces. You have to eat more. So where else? Right, where else do we see this example over here of going ahead and spending money to perform a mitzvah no matter what the cost? Daled kosos, 4 cups. Why do we drink daled kosos on Pesach? Why?
To remind us of the Yisrael.
Good. Arba l'shon shel geula. Good. What? But in essence, what is the mitzvah of Arba kosos? What are we doing? What are we fulfilling? The Maggid Mishnah says, if you look in the underlying line in number 3, V'ata mishum persume nisa. What's persume nisa? Publicizing miracle. So how is Arba koso? What does it mean? Is Arba kosos persume nisa? What does that mean?
The impact that it makes on us when we're drinking it, and like when you see
Good.
other people, like why they're spending so much money on 4 cups of wine. They're going to tell them, and they're going to be like, "Oh, we did this because
Beautiful.
our forefathers did."
Beautiful. And even if you want to, even less that's beautiful, but even less complicated. Why is Arba kosos persume nisa? You're absolutely right, Chaim. But why else? On a simple level, the act of drinking wine, right, is in and of itself demonstrative of cherus, right? Wine is a free man's drink. So at the end of the day, so what's happening over here is that when you drink 4 cups of wine, so lemaisa, you are demonstrating, you are publicizing the fact that we are free. Okay, so let's look what the Maggid Mishnah says. So the Maggid Mishnah wants to make a linkage between Daled Kosos and Menorah. Just like Daled Kosos is pursuing Nisa, so to Menorah Ner Chanukah is also pursuing Nisa. And what the Maggid Mishnah seems to say is that for pursuing Nisa, you go above and beyond. Right? So whereas perhaps by regular mitzvahs, the halacha is you spend up to 1/5 of your wealth. For pursuing Nisa, you spend even more. Why? What do you think? Impact on who?
Yourself.
Good. What do you mean?
Because you're obligated to do so much. You're going to value the mitzvah so much more. You're going to realize, what's the basis of it? You're going to see the foundation of the mitzvah. Why am I commanded to do so much?
That's by any mitzvah also.
You're not commanded to do that so much by those mitzvahs because there's no nace involved or there's no whatever. This, as a reason, God saved you. Now you have to do this. So you're going to think about that.
Beautiful, excellent. Any other thoughts? Why does pursuing Nisa demand like that? Literally spend like sell the shirt off your back.
There's like gratitude for Hashem saving us.
Oh, so there could be gratitude, or in other words, that it could very well be, and this Reb Chaim Brisker brings this down, that the concept of pursuing Nisa is a din of Kiddush Hashem. Right? So literally, again, when I publicize a miracle, I'm being Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. Kiddush Hashem is the highest level of mitzvah, the highest level of spiritual performance, and therefore, again, it could very well be that for Kiddush Hashem, you have to spend all of your money. So pursuing Nisa equals Kiddush Hashem. Nothing more important in this world than Kiddush Hashem, Kiddush Shem Shamayim, and therefore Allah L'maisa spend all of your money on that Kiddush Hashem. So that's one pshat over here. And by the way, what else? Using this logic, What else fits into the category of Kiddush, of Pirsumi Nisa? What are the miracles of Pirsumi Nisa? What are the miracles of Pirsumi Nisa? Good. Purim. Excellent. Right? Purim, Megillah, Su'uda, Mishlach Maros. By the way, that's the halacha. Everybody, right? Everybody has to perform Sudas Purim. Therefore, what mitzvah do we have in order to ensure that everyone performs Sudas Purim? Mataras Avyonim. Right? And that's why, again, what happens if two people are so poor that they can't give each other Shalach Manas? What do? They just swap food with each other. They swap food. So you see this theme, that wherever there's Pirsumi Nisa equals Kiddush Hashem, nothing more important than Kiddush Hashem, and therefore, again, even if it means you have to spend all of your money, that's what you have to be ready to do. Okay, so that's I think the simple pshat. That I think that's the halachic idea. But let's talk about B'derech Hashkafa. What's happening over here? Obviously, if I have to spend all of my money on Ner Chanukah, that means that this mitzvah is, for lack of a better term, Gedolihi Ad Ma'od. It's incredibly important. So I understand, if it's Pirsumi Nisa, which equals Kiddush Hashem, then it makes sense. What about the Derech Hashkafa? Is there something else that's happening over here? So I want to show you something amazing. And you guys, this is why I'm a little bit mekana you, because you'll get to fulfill this in, one of the most dramatic things is not only is Chanukah more of a yontiv in Eretz Yisroel, but the way you perform Ner Chanukah in Eretz Yisroel, as you've seen, is dramatically different than in Chutz La'aretz. Because take a look at number 4. What does the Gemara Masechah Shabbos say? Zos Omeres, Ner Chanukah, mitzvah lahanicha besoch asara. What does that mean?
Mitzvahs to place it within 10.
10 what? Tefachim. Excellent. So by the way, tefach is what? About 3 inches, right? So mitzvah anicha b'sok yutfachim essentially means that you're supposed to place the menorah within about 3.5 feet. 3.5 feet of the ground, right? So you see this all the time. Now remember again, this is assuming where is a person lighting? Outside, right? By the way, where are you lighting outside? You guys gotta know these halachas, right? Where are you lighting outside? Although in yeshivas often they light in dining rooms, depending on where you go, different minhagim, right? With dorms, right? Or sometimes outside also. So what's the halacha? Shalom aleichem. Archava, shalom aleichem. Zavi, how are you? Just bring here, just take a chair. We're going to squeeze in more. Mom, there's just plenty of room. Right? All right, this is the room that constantly, like the Makom HaMikdash. You know the mission of us. Right? The mission of us says there are 10 miracles that occurred in the Beis HaMikdash. One of the miracles was V'lo Amar Adam Sarli Hamakom Shalim B'Yushalayim. No one ever says that they're too squeezed in Yerushalayim. No such thing. Baruch Yerushalayim always has incredible space for everyone.
They never went to Meishon.
They went to for anybody. I don't know if they don't have sheets. There's plenty of sheets, by the way, if you still need. Okay, you have perfect. Okay, so I'll say, so now listen to this. So now, the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is we place Ner Chanukah within 10 tefachim of the ground. So 3 feet. About 3 feet, right? Where on the doorway is Ner Chanukah placed? Where is it placed? Right, good, excellent. Opposite? The mezuzah. Right, so you've got the mezuzah on your right, you've got the Ner Chanukah on your left. Ideally, you're placing that Ner Chanukah within 3 feet of the ground. That's the halacha. Mitzvah nicha b'soch asara. Beautiful. By the way, what's the logic of that? Why do you place Ner Chanukah b'soch asara?
Your eyes will notice it.
So first, your eyes will notice it. Excellent. Good. Why else? Excellent. Here, why else? Take a look at number 5. So the Rush. I'm sorry. Someone says something. Well, right. So why else are we placing it b'soch asara? So the Rush says Mitzvah nicha l'mata me'asara ki da'amar Ravina mishmei derava v'gam ika pirsa manes tfei kishi l'mata dedavar ha'asui le'or in derech lanicha kol kach l'mata. I will say, remember again, Ner Chanukah. What's the halacha? You are not allowed to use it for any benefit. Now, generally, if one was going ahead and kindling a light for benefit, where would they put it? Higher up. The fact that we place it lower down indicates to us that this is not like a light for illumination purposes, right? This is not for real usage purposes, but rather, again, this ultimately, it's for spiritual purposes. So we place it lamata me'asara in order to show that this is not a light of illumination, but instead, again, it's a ner mitzvah. But I want to show you something absolutely fascinating. Take a look at number 6. A Gemara in Meseches Sukkah. The Gemara says, V'tanya, Rabbi Yossi Omer, Me'olam lo yarda shchina lemata, V'lo alu Moshe ve'Eliyahu l'marom shneimar hashamayim shamayim la'Hashem ba'aretz nasan l'bnei adam. So the Gemara makes an interesting observation. The Gemara says there's a distinction between heaven and earth. Literally, again, the Shekhinah never comes down on the earth, and man never goes up to Shammai. So the Gemara says, one second. The Shekhinah never comes down to the earth. V'aksiv v'yired Hashem al Har Sinai. But yet the pasuk says that Hashem came down to Har Sinai. End of number 6. What's the pshat? Lemalo me'asar tvachim. Shabbos says, so this is incredibly important. The Gemara says we have a principle. The principle is the Shekhinah never goes lower than 10 tvachim. Shekhinah will come down to this earth, but will never go below 10 tvachim. Now, by the way, right? Where do we see at but what's the raya that the Shekhinah never goes below 10 tvachim? Where do excellent, right? Remember, where did the Shekhinah reside? Where did the Shekhinah reside?
The top of the...
Right, between the kruvim. Right, the kruvim, remember, the lid of the arn was 10 tefachim, and the Shekhinah was perched right between the kruvim themselves. So that's the raya. The Gemara, that's the rest of the Gemara. I just didn't include it over here, but the rest of the Gemara is that Allah Chalamayis, the Shekhinah resides between the kruvim. The kruvim were 10 tefachim high, and therefore you see from here that the Shekhinah never goes below 10 tefachim. Okay, so now, there's a lot of disparate facts here, which things that come together. Right? So let's go through this again. Ner Chanukah, where do you light it?
Left side.
Right, left side, and right? And right, you got it within 3 feet, within 10 tefachim. In other words, the ideal mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is to light it within 10 tefachim, lower than 10 tefachim. So it's just interesting because the only other time we see 10 tefachim is by the Shekhinah, and the Shekhinah dafka never goes below 10 tefachim, right? So it's interesting. So the Shekhinah stops at 10 tefachim, but yet the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is below 10 tefachim. So just interesting, something seems to be going on over here. So take a look at number 7. We're going to bring this together in just a second. So this is a great Gemara. The Gemara says over here like this. The Gemara says 7. Amar Rav Hamnuna, Mai dichsiv. So the pasuk says, "Who is like the wise one who knows how to make a pshara?" What's a pshara? You know pshara? Pshara is a compromise. Compromise. Who knows how to make a pshara? He says, "Mika Kodesh Baruch Hu sheodea lasos pshara ben shnei tzadikim." This is a great story. The Gemara tells us Rabbi Shmuel Silber made a pshara. He made a compromise between 2 tzadikim. Which tzaddikim did make a compromise between Ben Chizkiyo and Yeshayahu? By the way, you ever hear these 2 people? Who was Chizkiyo? Right, king. He was also a Navi, right? He was king, right? Descendant of great grandson of David HaMelech, and Yeshayahu, Navi. So Chizkiyo and Yeshayahu were contemporaries, right? Chizkiyo was the king, Yeshayahu was the prophet. Now watch this. Chizkiyo and Yeshayahu did not get along. They didn't get along, which it happens sometimes. And they were both great people, but sometimes even great people don't get along. So this is actually a pretty crazy Gemara. Look what the Gemara says. Chizkiyo Amar, Leisi Yeshayahu Gabai. So listen to this. Chizkiyo says, how would you translate that phrase? Leisi Yeshayahu Gabai. Anyone want to translate that? Leisi Yeshayahu Gabai means he should come to me. Yeshayahu should come to me. In other words, they were almost like having like a little bit of what's the word? They were like bregas with each other. It's covered. Chizkiyahu said, I'm the king, I'm the melech, and the Navi should come to the melech. And he said there's historical precedence for that. Eliyahu went to Achav. Yeshayahu said, Leisi Chizkiyahu Gabai. Chizkiyahu should come to me. Chizkiyahu should come to me. Why? The Hachi Ashkam B'Yehoram Ben Achav the Azal Gabi Alisha. Okay, so what happened? So Chizkiyahu and Yeshayahu were having like a little bit of like this standoff. Each one felt that the other should come to him. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? Mas is great. Mas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? Hevi Yisruma Chizkiyahu. He made Chizkiyahu get sick. V'amar l'Yeshayahu, Leich ubaker esachola. And he says, he makes Chizkiyahu sick, and he says, Yeshayahu, okay, now go do Bikur Cholim. Go to Bikur Cholim. So I'll say, there's a lot to learn from this Gemara, by the way. Why couldn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu just say, Yeshayahu, stop it, go to Chizkiyahu? Why did he have to make Chizkiyahu sick? What do you think?
So he wouldn't feel like he's going down.
So this is a good din in like conflict resolution, right? The best way to resolve conflict is to allow all parties to feel that they're right. Because the moment that someone feels that this one's right and this one's wrong, it's a little bit harder to get everybody around the table. But if you can make everybody feel that they're right, so this way again, Cheshach Baruch Hu is saying, listen, Yeshayahu, maybe you're right, but right now Chizkiyahu is sick, so why don't you go to Chizkiyahu? Go to Chizkiyahu, go to Birchon. Now, by the way, that's where the Gemara ends. That's the Gemara ends. Now, by the way, if you just take a look, the pasuk says, "So Shneimar Bayam Mahem Chalach Chizkiyahu Lamos Vayavo Elav Yishah ben Amos Hanavi Vayomer Elav Kamar Hashem Tzavakos Tzav LeBeisecha Kimeis Ata V'lo Sechaya." So Yeshayahu does something that you should never do at a bigger chol visit, right? So Yeshayahu comes to Chizkiyahu and he says, "Chizkiyahu, Shalom Aleichem, you're going to die." Okay, not the best etiquette for a bigger chol visit. Now, by the way, there happens to be a lot more to this story. Right? If you remember again, why was Chizkiyahu was a great tzaddik? Why was he going to die? You want to know the story? Why was he going to die?
Wasn't having kids?
Correct. Excellent. Chizkiyahu refused to get married. He refused to get married and have kids. Right? Why?
He saw they were going to be your son.
Because he saw they were going to be Rishon. So remember again, so interestingly enough, the rest, I didn't quote the rest of the Gemara, but the rest of the Gemara is, Yeshayahu says to Chizkiyahu, you're going to die. Chizkiyahu says, why am I going to die? So Yeshayahu says, because you never got married and tried to have a family. So Chizkiyahu says, I saw b'nevuah that if I have a kid, he's going to be a tremendous Rasha. And Yeshayahu says something amazing. Yeshayahu says, anyone know what Yeshayahu says to him? It's not your job. Why are you getting involved in God's running? Let God run his world. You stay out of it. Stay out of it. You have a job. What's your job? Be normal. What does it mean to be normal? Get married, try to have a family. Okay, so it's interesting. So what happens? So Chizkiyahu says, fine.
God give him a nevuah about that?
I'm sorry?
Aren't you supposed to follow like the nevuah? So why would God give him that nevuah?
The nevuah was that he saw what his offspring was going to be. It wasn't a nevuah not to have children. Right? And sometimes who's to say that nevuahs can't change? Right? Sometimes again, sometimes the Navi will prophesize Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to punish Klal Yisrael. But that nevuah is an invitation to affect change. So it's true. Chizkiyahu sees his son's going to be a big Rasha. Who says he can't change that? And even if he can't change it, what is it's just like, I mean, it's an exaggerated example, but no one says, you know what? Since I know one day I'm going to die, it's not worth it to put in that much effort into life. Right? We all know we all have the same end. Just because I know how it's going to end doesn't mean I don't try to engage in the process. So it's incredible. So what happens? Chizkiyahu says, Yeshayahu, Chizkiyahu says, fine, I'll get married. You have a daughter, I'll marry your daughter. Marry your daughter. Right? So Yeshayahu says, I already told you you're going to die. So here Chizkiyahu says, I have a Mesorah from my Alter Zayda. Who was Chizkiyahu's Alter Zayda? Who was his great-great-grandfather? David HaMelech. This is the best Gemara. What did David HaMelech say? Afilu cherev chada munachas al tzavaro shel adam al yimane es atzma min arachamim. Even if a person has a sharp sword against his neck, never stop davening. So Chizkiyahu says, just because you say it, so it happens to be, Yeshayahu heard it. Chizkiyahu marries Yeshayahu's daughter, and they have a son. Anyone know the son's name? Excellent. Menashe. Longest serving monarch of Klal Yisrael, 55 years, was a serious Rasha for 22 of them, then became a Baal Tshuva for 33 of them, but even when he came a Baal Tshuva, he couldn't really undo all the stuff that he did. Okay, point over here is, open a window in here a little bit. All right, we tried. All right, so listen to this. So now, maybe does that air conditioning work? Cool, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, so now listen to this. Okay, so this is a Bikur Cholim. Okay, so Bikur Cholim. What does Bikur Cholim have to do with anything? Turn the page for just a second. So I'll say, take a look at source number 8. Take a look at source number 8. So this is really an incredible piece, right? So just keep in mind all the pieces. First of all, we'll come back to our overarching question in just a moment, but remember again, their Chanukah goes where? Left side.
3.5 feet.
Good. Lamata miyud, right? Within 3 feet of the ground, lamata miyud. Shechina never goes down lower than 10. Right? So their Chanukah is lower, Shechina never goes down, okay? Now we've got Bikur Cholim, right? Bikur Cholim. What does all of this have to do with each other? Take a look at number 8. An incredible piece from the Maharal. The Maharal writes in Netzach, he saw a beautiful idea. He said, listen to this. He says, Cholim udevuyim b'cholim v'yisurim kibnei Yisrael b'galos hamarazeh. Sometimes Klal Yisrael, in our current state, we're like someone who's ill. We're spiritually ill. V'im kein, hagam shemitzad midas derech eretz, ro'i li'isha pashut, sheyelech eitza hamelech ram v'nisa, k'dei lefaiso, ulevakish es lichaso, mikol makom, kevan shana bebechinas cholim, al king yavo hamelech levakrenu. So listen to what the Maral says. Let me ask you this. What do we all want in life? At the end of the day, what do you want?
Happiness.
Happiness. Beautiful. What else?
Relationship with Hashem.
Family. I'm sorry?
Relationship with Hashem.
Relationship with Baruch Hu, right? David Amal, because I'll tell you something interesting, right? What does David Amal say? David Amal says, Acha sha'alti me'ez Hashem osa lakesh. I have one request. What was David Amal's one request? Shifti be'ez Hashem ko'emei chayai. Dveikus. Kirvas Hashem, close to Hashem. So the Malbim asks on that passage, really, David? That's all you need? What about getting married? What about a family? What about parnasa? What about health? So the Malbim says something so beautiful. David HaMelech understood that if you have kirvas Hashem, if you have a closeness to the Ribono Shalom, everything else falls into place. If you have that shifti beves Hashem kol yimei chaya, if you really feel that, everything else falls right into place. We'll say, you ever have a day like where morning Seder was great, afternoon Seder was great, one, the other, all of the above? Right? How do you feel on a day like that? How do you feel? Great, right? It feels like in those moments, like the world is perfect. Let me ask you, objectively, is the world perfect on those days? No, there's still a lot of stuff that's broken, and maybe still like a lot of stuff in my life that's broken. But it's the incredible thing about a relationship with Hashem, that when my relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is as it should be, when it's in a good place, everything else in my life seems to fall into place as well. So the Maharal says something so beautiful. The Maharal says, what I want more than anything is the closest to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So let me ask you this. If I want the closest to Hashem, whose responsibility is that? Who's responsible for that? Me. I would say this is like a big thing, and this is very important because you guys are really like getting started in Eretz Hashem, like on your spiritual careers. No one else has an achrayus for your ruchnius. Not your Rebbe, not your mashkiach, not your chavrusa, not your parents, no one. The only person who has an achrayus for your ruchnius is you. Is you. So therefore, again, the Maharal says, in reality, if I want a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is the responsibility on? It's on me. It's on me. But says now something amazing. But sometimes what happens, this is so beautiful. He says sometimes, Mikol Makom, I'm reading in the middle of number 8, Mikol Makom, Kevan Shem Bechinas Cholim. Sometimes we're ill. Sometimes we're just spiritually ill. So what happens when I'm ill? What happens when a person is a chola? They're bedbound. They can't, this is what there was the Gemara, right? Maybe Chizkiyahu should have gone to Yeshayahu, but Chizkiyahu was ill. So what does Chash Baruch Hu tell Yeshayahu? What does he tell him in that moment? What does he tell him? You go to the person who's ill. If the person is ill, he can't come to you, you go to them. So the Maharal says, sometimes I, as a Jew, am in a spiritually compromised state. I'm like a chola. And because I'm a chola, I can't get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even though I should be the one that's journeying to Him. But I can't do it. I'm too compromised. So what do I ask of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when I'm the chola? What do I ask of Him? Come to me. Come to me. For me, one of the, the Kalbach Melech Rachamon? Melech Rachamon. No? Rachem Aleinu Toiv Umeitiv. No one. Hashova Aleinu B'Hamay Racham. Essentially, it's the words we say Musaf on Shalosh Regalim, and it's Melech Rachamon Rachem Aleinu. Right, compassionate King, have compassion upon us. Tovu Meitiv Hidarish Lanu. Shuva Eleinu. Come back to us. So Rabbi Shmuel Silber said something amazing. He said that when did he compose this niggin? He says one time he was traveling, he was in the airport, and this is an old story. So he said he saw this teenage kid, mamish looked like homeless, torn clothing, long hair, all this stuff, and it was by a phone booth. You ever probably don't even know what a phone booth is, but it used to be right there. You go to a phone, put in a quarter, whatever it is, make a phone call. And he hears this kid, and Shlomo's kind of eavesdropping on the conversation, and he hears this kid calling home, and the kid just starts sobbing on the phone. He just starts sobbing. He says, I just want to come home. He's telling his parents, I just want to come home, And Shlomo inferred from the other side of that, his parents were asking, Where are you? Tell us where you are, and we'll come and we'll get you. And all the kid keeps saying back is, I don't know where I am, but just come and find me. And Rabbi Shlomo said that when he heard this exchange between a child and his parents, he said it inspired him to compose this niggin. That what do we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Shuva Eleinu. Come to us, a chutzpah. A chutzpah, if you want HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should have to go to him. But Elamai, sometimes a Yid, sometimes a Jew is so lost, is so compromised, is such a chola, that I can't find my way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I can't find my way to Hashem. So what do I do in those moments when I can't find my way to Hashem? What do I do? I say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, come find me. I'm the chola. And what do you do when you have a chola? What do you do? You go visit them, Bikur Cholim. Just like Chizkiyahu and Yeshayahu, right? Chizkiyahu saying that you should come to me. Yeshayahu saying you should come to me. So Hashbar do makes Chizkiyahu Chola, and then Yeshayahu has to do Bikur Cholim. So sometimes we become the Cholim. Sometimes I'm so compromised that I can't even get myself together to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in those moments, what do I say? Ribono Shel Olam, you come to me. Come find me. Look at the rest of the Maharal. He says, Mikol Bakom, Kevan Shana Bebechinas Cholim, Al Ken Yavo HaMelech Levakrenu, O Memela Yiskarev Elenu V'Yatzilim Min Agos HaMarvek. This is incredible. So sometimes at the end of is it working? No. Sometimes you can also open the, if you want, you can even open the door a little bit if you want. Right? So sometimes at the end of the day, I'm just so out of it and I'm so compromised and I'm such a chola that I just need HaKadosh Baruch Hu to come and to find me. So watch, let's tie this together. Take a look at number 9. You ever know, you ever go to the Shum of Ramelech Bitterman? So his Torah, I don't know, does anyone learn his Torah at all? No, he's Bera Parsha, Bera Chaim. He's just tremendous. Actually, it was Avi's father who introduced me to Ramelech Bitterman. Yeah. Your father. Yeah, so really, he's just tremendous Bal Machshava. So look what he writes over here. Look at the underlying lines. He says, Nimtza, Shebishabes Mazan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kivyachal Eretz Yisroel Lo Kidei Lenas B'ziv Kvodo, Sharihu Elo Kidei Lenas, Sharihu Yispar Shmo Kaddish Yom, skipping a little bit. B'yom Tovim Mazvin Ve'aron, skip Vamra Ra HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chaim Sons. Take a look at the left-hand paragraph, number 9. The Sons of Divrei Chaim says, Dahani mili v'chol ha'mo'adim v'azmanim. Aval nosef aleim yemei Chanukah, she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevaker es banav ahuvav b'soch beis asrum shalom. Get ready for this. Says the Sons of something amazing. Let's go full circle over here. So the idea over here in life is that we're supposed to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But what happens? Sometimes in life, I'm so compromised, I'm so ill, I'm so broken, that I can't get to the Shekhinah. I need the Shekhinah to come to me. But it's a chutzpah to ask the Shekhinah to come to you. How can you do that? Says the Sons of you're right. During the year, you can't. There's one time of the year that you can ask the Shekhinah to come to you. And that's when? Chanukah. And the Sons of says, listen to this. He says, that's why, where do we light the Ner Chanukah? Let's go back. Where do we light the Ner Chanukah? Where? Lamata miyud. But 1 second. The Shekhinah never comes down Lamata miyud. Says the Sons of the Shekhinah never comes down Lamata miyud except when it does. And when does it? He says, Aval nosaf aleim yemei Chanukah, she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevaker, left-hand paragraph in number 9, she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevaker es banav ahuvav b'soch beis ha'asurim shalahem. On Chanukah, you want to know the gadlus of Chanukah? The gadlus of Chanukah is that the Ribono Shel Olam comes to us wherever we are. That's where he comes to us. Ish b'soch nigo u'machovav begashes u'bruchnios b'mkomam lamata me'asara. Do you want to know the gadlus of Chanukah? The gadlus of Chanukah is no matter how down and out I am, no matter how broken I am, no matter how spiritually ill I may be or spiritually compromised, the rest of the year, if you want this Shekhinah, what do you have to do? Go out and get it. Chanukah, you know what it's almost like? The Ner Chanukah is almost like, it's like your SOS flare. It's like your spiritual flare gun, right? A person's lost, they fire the flare. I don't know where I am, I don't know what's going on. Just come and find me. Ner Chanukah, I am lamata miyud. That's how down and out I am. I'm lamata miyud. Shechina, come and get me. Come and find me. The beauty, the godless, the holiness of Chanukah is that no matter how broken I may be, the Shechina will come and find me. So although we say that normally the Shechina does not go lamata miyud, it's not true. It does, it's true, except for 8 days of the year. 8 days of the Shechina comes, lamata miyud will find me. So we'll say, so now that we have this, now everything else makes a lot of sense. Let's go back, right? How did we, whatever it is, a half hour ago, how did we start the shiur? What was our kasha? Why
do you need to spend all your money?
Why do you need to spend all of your money on Ner Chanukah? Right? Remember again, generally we have a principle of mitzvahs. What's the principle of mitzvahs? What's the principle? What's the principle? How much do you have to spend on mitzvahs? Up to 20%. That's the, and the belly, it's a ceiling. It's a ceiling. You're not allowed to spend more. Yet by Ner Chanukah, you even have to sell the shirt off your back. Okay, so our first explanation of that, why is that? Why do you even have to sell the shirt off your back? What was our halachic explanation? Persumei nisa. Right? Persumei nisa is the equivalent of Kiddush Hashem. Kiddush Hashem is important, therefore spend all your money. That was why Dalet Kosos. But perhaps on a hashkafic level, what Chazal understood was the hashkafa of Ner Chanukah is so incredibly important. Because Chavra, what is the hashkafa of Ner Chanukah? What is the hashkafa of Ner Chanukah? No matter how broken you are, no matter how low you may be, no matter how down and out spiritually you may be, the Shechina will find me. That lesson and that message is so incredibly important that you have to sell the shirt off your back in order to internalize it. Because I will say, this perhaps is one of the most important messages in Yiddishkeit. No matter where I am, the Ribono Shel Olam will find me. No matter what's happening in my life, when I light that Ner Chanukah, and I will say, that is it. It's interesting, right? That during Chanukah there is a hisorus. There really is. Like there is this awakening that happens. You know, when you look at the Svarim, I don't know that you guys learn any Chassidus in Yeshiva at all?
Yeah.
Dabble. What are you doing in Chassidus? Like a sorted? Tanya, okay, beautiful. Chavos Talmidim, beautiful. Piaget's incredible. Piaget's incredible. So what I would tell you is like this. In Chassidus, there is a very strong concept that during Chanukah, to sit and to look at the neighbors. To sit and to look at them. Just literally to sit and to stare. And it always intrigued me, like, and what? Like, what am I getting out of that? So I think based on this, it becomes clear when you look at those neros, what you see over here, what those neros really represent, is that at the end of the day, no matter where I am in life, the Shechina will find me. Sometimes, again, the ideal, Shalom Aleichem, gentlemen, Baruch Allah. Baruch Allah, bring in chairs. Right? All right, we'll squeeze a little more. Come, we can do this. Right? No matter, right? Generally, again, no matter what is happening in life, no, there should be more chairs. Right? Maybe look right across in the room next door. Right? Generally, no matter what's happening in life, I always should try to go ahead and nothing. I'll grab one of the offices. You could go in office. Yeah, you could just grab from an office. I'm making myself at home over here. I just take wherever you want. Hey, so I said, generally the halacha is if you want to establish kirva, closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so lemaisa, again, you have to make that effort. But apparently the way it works during Chanukah is if you just kindle that ner, even though it is lamata miyud, halacha lemaisa, the Shechina will find you. The Shechina will find you. And I will say that mindset is so incredibly important that even if you have to sell the shirt off your back to get that mindset, to wrap your head around your mind, that mindset, that's what you have to do. And I will say, I think when you put this all together, so it turns out that really this halacha, so let's go full circle, right? So let's go back to number 1 again. Full circle. Right, so what does the Rambam say? Afilu ein lo ma yochel ela min tzedakah, shoel o mocher ksuso, v'lokeach shemen umadlik neros. Even if you have nothing to eat, mamish, sell the shirt off your back in order to go and light Ner Chanukah. So it turns out now, Two reasons. Halachic one more time. Halachic one, what's the halachic reason? Persumei Nisa, which is the equivalent of Kiddush Hashem, and the Hashkafic one. Because what does Ner Chanukah represent? I will say, I just want to point out, when we say what does Ner Chanukah represent, remember again, there's so many things that Ner Chanukah represents. One of the things, but in this context, one of the things that Ner Chanukah also represents is this idea that sometimes we think that we're so broken that we can't have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I've made mistakes, I've done things wrong, so for me there's no hope, right? I'm like a lamata miyud kind of guy, right? Always hovering towards the bottom. And if I'm hovering towards the bottom, then at the end of the day, there's no real chance for a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu with me. And we see, there's nothing further from the truth. No matter how low you are, even if you can't summon up the power to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then Baruch Shalom comes to you. Hashem? I'll just add in. I'll be most of one more thing, and then we'll it's a close out the shiur. So there's one other piece of Chanukah also I think it's important. When we think about the nace of Chanukah, so right, if I was to ask, what's the miracle of Chanukah? What would you say? What's the miracle? Oil, right? Oil. So Pashas the oil, right? One little bit of oil, right? Remain lit for 8 days. Good. What else? What else is the miracle of Chanukah? What else? Military victory. Good. What else? Any other thoughts? Miracles of Chanukah. Right? So, by the way, those are really the two, right? Because if you think about it, obviously the oil is what we memorialize every night by lighting of the menorah. The war, we make reference to ultimately again in Al Anisim, right? In davening and benching. There's another miracle. Oh, it's just something amazing. The Gemara Maseches Menachos. With this, we'll conclude. The Gemara Maseches Menachos says something really beautiful. The Gemara says that when the Chashmonaim came back into the Beis Hamikdash, so we often think about that. The thing that was missing was oil, right? The Gemara Masech Shabbos says they looked for oil, and what did they find? The Shalohaya Ela Kruz Echad Munach Bichosama Shal Kohen Gadol. There was only one little jug of oil with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. The Gemara Masech Menachos says it wasn't just oil that was missing. What else was missing? The wicks and the menorah. The Gemara says the menorah wasn't there. Remember, Chavra, what was the menorah made out of? Pure gold, right? Pure gold, right? So you can imagine, by the way, the Syrian Greeks, when they ransacked the Beis Hamikdash, they were not leaving that menorah there. So the menorah was gone. So listen to this. The Chashmonaim came in. This is incredible Gemara. The Chashmonaim came in, and they decided to assemble a menorah. Get ready for this. What did they make the menorah out of? Right? Spears. Right? The Gemara Maseches Menachos says they took their spears and they tied it together into a menorah. Then the Gemara says the next year, they had a little bit more money, they made it out of tin. The following year, a little bit more money, brass, or copper. The year after that, brass. After that, silver. Only a number of years later was it made into gold. So just understand this idea. If I were to ask you, if you were one of the Chashmonaim and walked in the Beis Hamikdash and you saw all of this disarray, you saw there was no menorah, what would you do? Logically, what would you do? I'm sorry? Yeah, not an exact quote, but yes, yeah, you're right. In other words, yes, not ideal, right? We'll focus on this. There's a whole bunch of other stuff to do, right? After all, can I ask you, to fulfill the mitzvah of kindling the menorah with menorah made out of spears?
Yeah.
No. Right, not our menorah, the Beis Hamikdash. Right, menorah the Beis Hamikdash has to be gold. That's the halacha. That's the way it works. So, spears sounds very nice and very inspirational, but l'maisa, that's not the mitzvah. So we'll say Chanukah is another very important idea, which is a great phrase. It's attributed to the French playwright Voltaire. Okay, you can use this if you want to sound smart, right? He says the perfect is the enemy of the good. The perfect is the enemy of the good. What does that mean? That sometimes anyone know what that means? Perfect is the enemy of the good.
If you're only obsessed with perfection, it's going to stop you from doing at least good.
Excellent. So often in life, we want to do something, and then we have this mindset that if I can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing. That's the Yetzer Hara. That's unequivocally false. Chevra, name one thing you could do perfectly. Sleep. Anyone here daven perfectly? No? Right? Sleep. You can sleep perfectly, but that's okay. Why can you do that perfectly? Why? Because that's inaction. Right? So absolutely, inaction could always be, you could be perfectly inactive. Absolutely. But there's no piece of dynamic activity that you can ever do perfectly. And so much of life is not aiming for perfection, but aiming for good. And sometimes people think that good is not good enough, and if you can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing. So people spend their whole lives like not doing stuff because they can't do it perfectly. The whole avoda of Chanukah, right? How did Chanukah get started? That first Chanukah was an exercise in imperfection. There was no menorah. There wasn't enough oil. It was imperfection all around. And the godless of the Chashmonaim was that they went ahead and they did something imperfect, but they did something imperfect perfectly. In other words, they did the best that they could. So I always think there's like this there's so many other messages, but I think especially for the stage in life that you guys are in, sometimes, especially like in yeshiva, there is such a strive for perfection. A strive for perfection is an exercise in futility that only leads to disillusionment and disappointment. You need to be striving for good. And after you hit good, then strive for great. But never strive for perfect. Because if that's what you're aiming for, you're going to fail. Because only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perfect. Man can't reach a level of perfection. And this becomes the twofold lesson of Chanukah. Number one, aim for really good. Make the best of the circumstances you have. And number two, even if you're broken and even if you fail, when you light that Ner Chanukah, that's the spiritual flare, asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, come and find me wherever I am. You'll say, but la'olam lo yarda shchina lamata miyud. The shchina never goes down lower than 10 tvachim. It's true, except when? Except when it does. And when does it do so? On Chanukah. And also here becomes the galus of Chanukah. That even if you're feeling down and out, or even if you feel, you know what, I'm not even on the level of good, certainly not on the level of great, Chanukah offers us that opportunity to say, Ribono shel olam, come and get me, and come and find me wherever I am. Questions, thoughts, reflections, insights. I'm sorry?
I'm using that.
Right. This, and by the way, and now you understand, just again, full circle, now you understand, well, yeah, you have to sell the shirt off your back for your Chanukah, because this mindset, that even if I'm so broken that the Shekhinah is going to come and find me, is so important that you need to do whatever is within your power to get that in your Chanukah.
The two psukim at the end.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to get into? So I'll tell you like this. So what's interesting about this is understand that Shabbos Chanukah. Shabbos Chanukah are always the parshios of Yosef. Always the parashas of Yosef, right? So whether it's Vayigash and Miketz, right? So it depends on how, but it's always the parashas of Yosef. So what's the whole story of Yosef?
Self-control.
Right? Self-control. Excellent, right? The whole yesod of Yosef is self-control. Good. What else is Yosef? What else is the story of Yosef? Story of Yosef. Right, you remember again when Yosef is sold down. I didn't put this pasuk on the sheet, but Yosef is sold by his brothers, right? And the pasuk says that he's sold to a caravan, right, of Yishmaelim. And the pasuk says that they were going ahead and carrying tziri velot, balsam and lotus. Okay, so Rashi says, that's very interesting because normally these caravans would carry like very foul-smelling stuff. But in the schus of Yosef was sold ultimately again to a caravan that was selling sweet smelling stuff. So Chaim Shmulevitz, Zeches Adi Kol Bracha asks, I don't understand. Can you imagine you're Yosef, right? You're Yosef. You've just been robbed of your dignity, robbed of your clothing, sold by your own brothers. So can you imagine now you're sitting in this caravan like a piece of property. So what do you think? Like Yosef in the middle says, oh, is that balsam, right? Is that lotus? Like really? That, like, the guy is probably miserable, right? Miserable, so tzabrach and so broken. And do you think it's going to matter to him? So Chanukah says something so beautiful. He says, Yosef, though, understood that this was something out of the ordinary. And that something out of the ordinary was that Kadosh Baruch Hu reaching out to him, Lamata Miyud. Yosef was Lamata Miyud. And the Shekhinah gave him this little sign. that even when you are lamata miyud, I am still here. I am still here. That's what, and then the last pasuk. So again, that's the Yosef time. That's why Yosef is always part of Chanukah, because Yosef receives that divine kiss, lamata miyud. Yosef is lamata miyud, and the Shechina says, I am right here with you, lamata miyud. But there's one more piece, right? If you look at number 11, and we were just, guys were saying before about self-control, right? Yosef has this tremendous nisayon. Right? Eshes Potiphar's wife is trying to seduce him. So what does the pasuk say in number 11? So we'll say, there's one important thing to remember also. Yosef teaches us that the Shechina is even lamata miyud. Rabbi was saying, you can't rely on the Shechina coming to get you. What do you have to do? Vayanas achutza. What does vayanas achutza means? Yosef ran from lamata miyud to lamala miyud. That Yiddishkeit has, and Chanukah has, like this beautiful, like dual lesson. On one hand, if I'm broken and if I'm compromised, and literally again, if I'm in the pit of existence and I'm lamata miyud, will the Shechina come for me? Will the Shechina come for me? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But don't rely on that. Do whatever you can. Do whatever is within your own power to lift yourself up, lamala miyud as well. Vayana sachutza is that moment, that moment where Yosef goes from lamata miyud to lamala miyud. The Shechina will come for you wherever you are, but don't rely on the Shechina coming to you. You go and try to find the Shechina. Incredible lesson. So bring it all together. This is why you got to sell the shirt off your back for Ner Chanukah. Because truth is, anything and everything you need to be spiritually successful in life ultimately comes from Chanukah. Number one, even if you're broken, you're lamata miyud, the Shechina will come and get you. But don't rely on the Shechina coming to find you. You go to get the Shechina. Furthermore, don't aim for perfection in life, because the perfect is the enemy of the good. The Chashmonaim didn't aim for perfection. They went for good. And good led to great. And this is our Musar Haskell. This is our Yisod in Ner Chanukah as well. Maybe a niggin. Who's the Balzamer over here?
Tanel, actually. He led us. We had a Shabbaton, a bunch of guys, and he actually led us.
I don't remember that.
I do. Like 2 weeks ago.
Alright, what do you got?
Absolutely nothing.
Who has a niggin? Yeah, we gotta get something. The Lasoris.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you guys start, as long as you guys know it, as long as you guys know it, I'm in.
Nobody? I don't know.
Insert cricket noises.
Yeah. No, anything else? Questions?
I have a question. In that same Gemara, it says that we go up also, correct? Like, the Shekhinah doesn't come Lamata Yod.
Correct. And we don't go
above 20 or something like that, right?
We don't go into Shamayim. So meaning, the Gemara asks, what about Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe went up to receive the Torah. Moshe went up, but there's like a certain level of Shamayim that's not accessible to man. So there's like Hashamayim la Hashem. There's a part of the heavens for Kosh Baruch Hu, Ba'aretz Nafsan Libnei Adam.
What does that mean conceptually?
Which part?
Like,
about Shamayim?
The heaven and all that.
I mean, I think the heaven piece makes more sense. Like as a basar v'dam, there's just going to be certain areas of the rakia that I'm not going into.
It's not like actually sky. Like it's like a level of like
correct. They're talking about not like atmosphere or space or things like that. They're talking about something spiritual. I'm sorry?
It doesn't give a measurement?
No, because these things are beyond measurement, right? You're talking about the Shekhinah, so this is not like you can go up to 30 amas, or 40 amas, or 50 amas. This is a different darga of existence.
Who talks about this? Is this in the Chumash? Because if it's not in the Chumash,
Gemara.
how do they know about the levels of Shemayim?
So remember, so they're quoting a pasuk, right? They're quoting a pasuk of Shemayim la Hashem, Ba'aretz Nafsan Libnei Adam, right? So the pasuk, so David HaMelech obviously highlights this idea that there's man's space and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's space. How do they know like exactly all this stuff? Well, look, the Shechina Lamata Miyud, we learn that from the Aron because of the dimension of the Aron, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the Kruvim above 10 Tfachim, and the Shechina was between the Torah. The Shechina was between the Kruvim. In terms of man not going up to Shamayim, that seems to be just a Masorah. It's just a tradition handed down generation after generation, and we've never seen it. We've never seen it, right? We've never seen a person go up to Shamayim and come back. Right? Moshe went up on the mountain. I shouldn't say Eliyahu went up to Shamayim, but otherwise it seems to be Masorah.
Not within 10.
I'm sorry?
Not within 10.
Not within 10. Yeah. Good. Other questions? Life questions?
It seems like there are a lot of things in Judaism that seem more like pursuing Isa, like tzitzis, like we wear every day, and that's literally like showing who we are as a person, like a kippah or something. So like in Chanukah, like especially because it's not something that we're doing all the time, we're just doing it for 8 days. How does that have so much more power than just something, more things that we're doing on a daily basis?
It's a great question. So I think especially if you understand it in light of what we were discussing over here, that really what Chanukah really represents just on a very deep level is this: when I'm in trouble, the Shekhinah will come and find me. I think when you look at it in that way, you look at it in that message, that's so profound and so necessary that's different than anything else, right? And I think if you really delve into it a little bit more, I don't know that there's another mitzvah that has that message. Right? This seems to be the only mitzvah where the entire avoda is, no matter how far gone I am, the Shekhinah will come and get me. That's what I think. Questions, thoughts? Doesn't have to be a Chanukah. Life. You guys have it all figured out. All right, Baruch Hashem, I'm kind of you.
My Rebbe said something that interesting that you remind me of. I'm trying to think of like what you said that reminded me of it, because now it's seeming pretty random.
Let's hear it.
So he basically said that the Nes of Chanukah, when they were looking for the oil, he said that the main Nes that people talk about is that it lived for like 7 days, right? It's crazy, 8 days, right? So why celebrate day 1? That's not a Nes.
Right.
Oil lights makes it lets fire last, so we should celebrate from day 2 on. It's like whatever.
Good kasha.
And the answer that he gave was interesting. He said that we think that it's not a nes, but it's just as much a nes, if not more. Like God hides behind nature, and Hanukkah is the time that we should see through it. and see that nature is a nace. And it's just as miraculous as it lasting for 7 days. It's just as big of a miracle that the oil can keep fire lit and that they were able to light on the first day as well.
It's beautiful. So it's like the miracle of the natural.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It reminds you of that just past week's parsha when Leah has her fourth son Yehuda. So she says Hapam Odes Hashem. Chavi, you doing Shnei Mikra? Yeah. Good. Yeah. So so what does the pasuk say? Hapam Odes Hashem. Why did she say this time? I'll thank Hashem. Why?
She is more than her fair share. Right,
because remember the Masorah was they were going to have 12 sons, 4 wives, so which means 3 sons per wife. When she has her 4th son, so it actually says, oh now, Achshav Shnatalti Yosem Michalki, now I've gotten more than my portion, so now I'll give thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Sfarim bring down, which is beautiful. The Sfarim bring down something really amazing. They say that, sometimes people don't appreciate, like Shmuel was saying, they don't appreciate like the everyday miracles. So Leah, for whatever the reason, it took her until her 4th son to appreciate just the miraculous nature of childbirth, of bringing life into this world. So Apam Odas Hashem means, I've always tried to see Hashem in the supernatural, but never really had the opportunity to see Hashem in the natural. And now this quote-unquote natural event occurred to me. I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu natural. Then you begin to see that the natural is just as supernatural as the supernatural.
He said the same as
Okay, so it's, I forgot where I saw this Yisod, but good. Beautiful. That was random. That was great. That's great. Good. Any other thoughts, Chavra?
What does that look like when Hashem comes to you?
Okay, we really went... I don't know.
I'll tell you a different time.
Yeah. Shali's right about it. Who knows? Look, that's I think maybe ask it differently. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does come to us. Like there's a beautiful idea Rabbi Yitzchak Abaditcha brings down. He says, scientifically, sound breaks down into smaller and smaller units. That's the way sound works scientifically. So the Rebbe quotes the Zohar. The Zohar says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the first 2 dibros to us, right? He said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha and Lo Yeh Lecha Elohim Achrim. So the Zohar writes that if you listen carefully enough, you could still hear Anochi Hashem Elokecha. You could hear it. What does that mean? So, all right, so today you don't have it as much, but they used to have, you guys ever see like the dial radios? You ever see like a really old car that had like the dial radios? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Right? So, on the dial radios, like you had to get it punked like in the right spot, right? In order to be able to pick up the frequency. So the Rebbe says something really beautiful. I mean, he doesn't talk about radios, but essentially what he says is like this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to us all the time. You just have to be on the right frequency. Like if the Ribbon Shalom is broadcasting on AM and I'm on FM, I'm not going to hear anything. So I think sometimes Ribbon Shalom is talking to us all the time. But the question is, are we plugged in enough to be able to hear him? I think. Obviously there's a higher level of nevuah, but I think every day that everyone have like a situation like this where like you feel like you got a message from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like something happened and you felt like, oh, Hashem was communicating to me in this way. I think the more plugged in you are on the right frequency, and that's, look, I'll tell you that, I'm sure everybody tells you this, but like this time that you have in Eretz Yisroel is like the most incredible opportunity you have in life, because really the only thing you have to do is to work on yourself. Whatever you're doing, work on yourself, work on your learning, work on your davening. That is your only responsibility. And you will never, ever have that opportunity again. You come back to America, whether you're going to college, work, ultimately get married, Baruch responsibility kicks in. But like now is the opportunity. And what people don't realize is the godless of working on yourself and working on your learning and working on your davening, working on your midos is it plugs you into the right frequency. And when you're plugged into the right frequency, everything begins to make a lot more sense. You begin to hear what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to broadcast. You begin to hear the messages of life, and you're able to make good and informed decisions. Versus if you're on the wrong frequency, you just may be missing a lot of the messages.
I think that a Christian who's also extremely religious will also see signs from Jesus. Just because you're in a religion, it could also be half in your head, that you think you see stuff from God, but it's just in your head, and it's just regular things that you think are from God.
You could be. Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they see stuff from
Jesus,
God.
so.
Right.
Why not from God?
It's the wrong God.
Whatever, I don't know.
Right. So
Anyway.
I think, first of all, just understand, it's important to understand, right? Jews have not cornered the market on God, right? The Ribbon Shalom is a God of humanity. So I would say a little bit differently. I would say you can have people who are not Jewish, who are absolutely tuned into God and are seeing the signs. Absolutely. Absolutely that happens. Right? Now again, I love Dafkat Yashka, but I'm just saying like there's definitely, that definitely works. Religion has a way, connection to HaKadosh. Remember again, this is why for a non-Jew, what did the Shem Mitzvah Noach do? They plug you into the Ribbon Shalom. So there is a plug-in for anyone and everyone, not just Jews. 100%. Incredible. Incredible. All right. How do we get like a selfie with everyone in it?
So you
What's
get
that?
one of the people